Everything and everybody in your life is temporary except for one thing, and that's you. I hate to break it to you, but that's just how life is. And I mean, you could think about it and think, that's sad. Or you could think about it the other way and realize that you're going to spend all of your life with one person for sure, and that's going to be you. It can sound daunting or it can sound relieving, and it just depends on the way that you treat yourself. And that enough should be great to motivate you to be your own best friend. And I say this because I've seen people lose 20, 30, and even almost all of their lives just trying to make peace with themselves. And that's not a great place to be in, because I've been there too. I have been on the spectrum where I've been harsh with myself, and a while to some extent, I believe it is so important to be harsh on yourself where there is a need. In most cases, all you really need is a best friend, and there's nobody else better than you yourself who can be your own best friend. You're going to spend all of your life with yourself, be it the hard times or the good ones. And once you realize that, and once it hits you, you will understand that every time you make decisions in your life out of self love, it's going to be 10 times better than making decisions without considering your own self. So much of life we spend thinking about what others are going to think about us, or how can we make them feel better about themselves. But really, all that truly matters is how happy you are when you're 80 and when you reflect on your own life. But how do you really become your best friends? I think it's so easy to say that, but truthfully, when I think about it, it just takes a lot of internal work to first figuring out what you like. And I do not say what you like in just the terms of what you like to do for work or the superficial things, but what I truly mean is what truly brings you joy in life and what brings you purpose. It could be very few things. For me, it's like my morning coffee and experimenting with that. For me, it's like cooking for myself or like my loved ones once in a while. For me, it's about showing up at the gym or doing what I love. But truthfully, at the core of it, it also means figuring out what makes you feel uncomfortable and what doesn't. For example, saying yes to a plan that I'm not okay with, but I just say yes for the sake of it, and then realizing it later that I didn't even want to commit to it. But now I hate the fact that I committed to it and I'm going to have to show up for it. Cool. I learned it the first time. I think the second time I'm going to learn that and figure out what are the type of plans that I want to say yes to. Is the little things like those that you can reflect upon to understand what you truly like and what you don't. And when you draw a strict boundary towards that, you reach a lot more closer to figuring out what kind of person you are. For me, for example, time in the nature is the most amazing thing that I would rather do, or go on a drive rather than going out to a party with like a bunch of people. That's just the way I like things. But I've just come to figure that out about myself because I was patient with myself. And none of this has to be about you fitting in with people. All of this is about you feeling comfortable in your own skin. What makes you feel that way? It is even the simplest things like dressing the way you like, you know, talking to people the way you like, and talking to yourself the way you talk to your closest people. That is so important because it is insane to me, because I've seen people how harsh they are with themselves and how insecure they are. I think insecurity comes from comparing ourselves against so many different things. For example, wondering why your skin doesn't look the way it does as somebody who was on a magazine cover. But truthfully, it's not unknown that they go through so much. Like, of course, like be it the diet, be it the hair and makeup, be it the photoshopping process, all of it to say that you should never compare yourself against anybody else, because what's the whole point? Nobody has lived your life. Nobody has experienced your life the way you have. Nobody has your eyes. Nobody has your smile. Nobody thinks about life the way you do in the exact way. Everybody is so similar yet so unique. And I think that in itself should be enough to realize that there is nothing to be insecure about in this life. Sure, if you know that there's something that needs to be worked upon, you always should. For example, when I was growing up, I wanted to be more athletic, and that just didn't come naturally. But as I started choosing that lifestyle, I think it just chose me instead, because now it's just my entire personality. And maybe back then I would have been insecure about the way I look. And to be very honest, I don't remember because that version doesn't exist anymore. But now that I look at it, it doesn't exist the same way. I'm not harsh on myself because my arms look this way or that way, or my face looks this way or that way, or you know, all the other things that, or all the other things that people think are insecurities. I think to accept yourself the way you are, and then work on getting better, that is the best thing that you can do. And it just shows up in your life. Anybody who looks at you then and you yourself in the mirror, you will figure out how much better you feel. So those are the type of things that you got to do. Because think about it, that's so superficial. I mean, to think that, oh my God, you don't look perfect and like this, and spending your life thinking about all of that, that does not make sense. The goal is to have so much respect and love for yourself that everything else around you doesn't bother you in a way that you question your own existence. Because we just have this one life, and there's so much to be proud of, there's so much to build, there's so much to love, there's so much to do. And imagine even spending an hour of your day thinking about securities or not being kind to your own self in the first place. I think that is the key to shaping up an amazing life. And I do believe that self criticism is the path to a better life. But there's a very thin line between self criticism and constructive criticism, and actually just beating yourself up against standards that do not really make sense. Because at the end of the day, a life well lived is just when you're truly happy. And happiness is not a constant state, right? So, what you truly can chase is peace. And you will be at peace with yourself and your life when you're happy and content with at least most of the things that are in your control. You can't help what is uncontrollable, but everything that you can do for yourself, you must do. And you must believe that this is your life, nobody else's. You are the main character, and you should always live your life that way. So, if there's one thing that you take away from this video, it's just that try becoming your own best friend, even just for a day, and figure out how beautiful life is. It is insane to me how so many people don't realize it, but if this is you and if that is something you want to work on, then that is the first step. Take actions on anything that makes you feel insecure and is in your control, and anything that isn't, just get over it and focus on things that you can control, and like a life that you can build, and be your own best friend. And you won't realize it in like 6 months, but when you look back, you will realize how much you've grown, and that is going to be the best gift that you can give to yourself. Think about it. It's one life, and you're the main character. There's so much you could be doing than just comparing yourself against millions of other factors that exist, and it's just all marketing gimmicks that I believe. All in all of it to say, just be yourself, just live your life, be whimsical, have fun, and understand that life is, this is one of my favorite quotes from Timothy Chalamet, because he said it on a show, but life is coming from you, not at you. And beautiful than that.